Let's talk about funnels. Because if you're a solo founder or a service provider, you've definitely been told you need one. And I've been in this boat many times before, being bombarded with messaging about how you desperately need to set up these automations. You need this new freebie. You need to send out more content, blah, 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 blah. It's a lot of noise. The thing is, the freebie, the lead magnet, the nurture emails, the welcome sequence, the automations, the course, the sales page, it can get super overwhelming. And you know the drill. Supposedly, you press a button, you click play, and automatically sales roll in. Okay, here is the actual truth I think you need to hear if you're in this messy middle of setting up a billion automations, hoping something's going to stick. A funnel is not a fix, okay? It's a framework. And if your message is not clear, if you don't know who you're speaking to, how you best speak to them, in what tone of voice, with what messaging, what language, if you haven't nailed a service offering, if you don't know how you're going to speak to different buyers at different user journey points, okay, your funnel's not going to work. A message needs to be clear before your funnel can actually work. And no funnel in the world is going to save a leaky message. So what actually is a funnel? Because you're going to see so much content out there and noise, and you might see things like the ADL model, which is about awareness, moving your buyers through to interest, desire, action, and then loyalty. And there's also these fancy little funnels, flipped funnels, demand generation funnels. It can be quite overwhelming. So I'm just going to explain it really, really clearly. So a funnel is the way that someone discovers your brand, builds trust with you, and then eventually decides to buy. And increasingly, there are lots of different entry points to that funnel, and they might come and discover you in different ways. In theory, a funnel can work really beautifully because you're nurturing your leads to get to know you, to build interest, and eventually go, you know what, I want to work with this person because I trust them. So in theory, funnels work really, really beautifully, especially when you're trying to scale your marketing efforts without burning out. But in reality, funnels fail a lot more than they work. And not because of bad tech or the wrong tools or the wrong automation software, but because the message just isn't landing. I actually have people come to me a lot and say, I built this massive funnel, or I've set up these newsletter automations, and I'm doing a bit of Instagram, I'm doing a bit of this, I'm doing a bit of that, but no one's really converting. And my first question is always, okay, if you're doing everything at 1,000,000 miles an hour and you are burning yourself out doing it, are we actually looking at the right thing here? Is your message actually doing its job? Do you understand your position in the market? And how are you speaking to your target customers? What kind of language? How specific are you being? And what makes you unique in the way that you deliver that content? Because if your message isn't ironed out, everything else feels leaky. And I'm actually going to give you a real world example of where someone, a tech company, came to me to help them with their funnel. And actually we realized it was a messaging problem. Let me give you a real world example. So one of my first ever Bravebird clients was a dating app, really super exciting. And their core offering was super amazing because they were doing what no one else in the market was doing. They were creating a dating app that was all about the connection. And actually the technology itself matched people based on compatibility of their preferences, which was pretty unique at the time, rather than basically getting you to swipe right or left on Tinder or Hinge, like these standard dating apps. You actually could be matched by the algorithm and system and then get to know each other and have a conversation and then decide if you want to go on a date. So it was a really unique USP. But when I came in to order the ads, I came in specifically brought on to manage their LinkedIn ads, their Meta ads, their Reddit ads, and told to kind of audit it and then manage on an ongoing monthly basis the ads and launching campaigns. However, when I came in, it was clear they got quite a lot of traffic to these ads, like a lot of engagement. But when people clicked through the different entry points on these campaigns and got to the website, it mass load of traffic, but no conversions as users. And as it's a product, a product offering, it was very easy to basically click through a product-led growth model, click through and sign up as a user really quickly. And that wasn't happening. So within days of auditing their funnel, it became really obvious. The ads were not the issue. They were actually burning through budget, getting loads of clicks, but conversions weren't happening on the website. So it became very clear it was a website messaging issue and therefore a wider messaging issue. And when I looked at the website, it was doing a good job, but it didn't really speak to that core USP about being about meaningful connection, about people who are burnt out, really psychographically struggling with having to go through months and months of these failed dates and what that did to their self-esteem and how they felt about themselves. So that was something that we could tap into as a message. And so we went away, I rewrote the website copy. I really looked at the messaging of these advertisements to see, are they matching up to this idea of feeling burnt out by dating apps and wanting something different? And they weren't. So we went back, redesigned the messaging on the website, rewrote the copy, retargeted campaigns in a different way. So setting up something that really spoke to that core message and having that an aligned user experience across every touch point. And the result was actually really overwhelming. So by the time I came on to take on the ads, from that point to the end of my engagement with this client, 2.3 million brand impressions, a 475% increase in bottom of funnel clicks, and crucially, a 57% reduction in ad spend. That is over half of the ad spend that was being saved because of this messaging being correct. So the takeaway from this is message first, funnel second. And what I mean by this is your funnel is not your message. It is just the delivery system. So before you build a funnel, you need to know exactly what you're saying and who you're saying it to. I always say that the bravest thing in business you can do is to ask yourself the tough questions of yourself, of your mission, your vision, and your goals, so that you can deliver the ultimate customer experience. And it takes guts to ask yourself these questions. It takes time, but when you do, you'll know you'll have the confidence of an aligned strategy. So if you're not clear on who you serve, what they're struggling with, what transformation you alone deliver, and how you deliver that transformation, why you're the right person to help, and what happens when they work with you in terms of your process plan, what exactly are you leading your people to in this funnel? It's just tactical marketing. It's just throwing out content to the wind. You can have the most polished freebie on the planet, but if it's vague, misaligned, or hasn't had that kind of campaign objectives really ironed out, you're just throwing it out into the wind. Because you can write the most perfect launch email in the world, but if your homepage sounds like everyone else and your website really feels generic, it won't convert. And therefore, every automation that you send towards your website or towards your content, towards your Instagram or towards your freebie will just feel misaligned. And customers really can sense and they get suspicious when there's a misaligned user journey. They think, hang on a minute, I really love this campaign that I saw on Instagram. So why, when I land on your website, does it feel really different? Why is the words and the language and the messaging just feel completely misaligned to what I saw on Instagram? These things are important. You need that brand aligned touchpoint experience. And that only comes from working out your messaging first. So your takeaway, if your funnel is not converting, if you're launching this big fancy email conversion welcome sequence, or you just launched a new campaign and it isn't converting, or you're spending money like hundreds of pounds on ads, pause. Okay, pause. Do not throw your good hard-earned money at ads before. Do not also rebuild your email sequence again before you do this. Ask yourself, do I truly know what my message is? Can I explain what I do, who for, and why it matters in a single sentence, right? Your little strapline. And have I shaped a narrative that actually connects with the right people that I am really ferociously going after? Because that clarity, that message is the foundation everything else is built on. And if you want help doing that, that is exactly what the Bravebird Boost is for. My signature one-to-one service where I help founders like you sharpen your positioning, clarify your messaging, and write website copy and also messaging tenets that truly convert. Because once your message works, everything else finally clicks into place. Thanks for listening and keep being brave.